All right, so today's a big day. It is the last print pass I have to do for the Mindset Shift Mental Health Oracle card decks. There's 4 sheets, and each sheet has two have 3 colors, 2 have 2 colors. So this is the last one. I did the single pass of the white. Then today we're going to be doing a dark metallic silver, and it'll finish the artwork on this last one. And then once I have all the sheets printed, I'll be able to then do the laminating, cutting, and boxing. Anyway, let's get started. So the first thing I had to do was align this screen to the original artwork, and what I have set up here is a jig. It's pretty rudimentary. It's just kind of this L-shaped ruler. There's 2 of them on each side, and I tape them down and I just move them until they're snug with the 11 by 17 piece of paper I have here. And so what I do is I pull a sheet, I push it into the corner here, and then make sure that corner is sitting well. Anyway, I put the super tack stuff down, get it kind of tacky, put the paper corner edge in, and then put the screen over it. Then I adjust these screws here to move the screen, and there's registration marks, but it's kind of funky. You just have to go through for a while and make sure every little detail is lined up. You push the screen down onto the existing paper, and I can see right now the right side's pushed a little to the right, but everything else here lines up really well. So I'm assuming when the film was printed, it might have been printed like a hair tiny, or there's expansion or contraction. I have really no idea, but this is my rudimentary setup. I taped it up. You got to tape the edges so paint doesn't get through the edges of the screen. So I'm pretty much set up. I mixed in some water into my existing water-based ink, because after printing for multiple days it dries out a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and load up some ink here. First things first, I put these little clip things here on the side. And what that does is it allows a place to rest the squeegee in between poles. So you put these here and then you can rest the squeegee over there. So here's my trusty squeegee. And this is what you use to pull the ink down. So this rests on there in between passes, and when you lift it up it doesn't fall off. So the next thing I need to do is just get this ink loaded here. It's a metallic. I got silver and I mixed in a black. You just load in a nice good amount of it. You don't want too much or it gets messy, but you don't want too little or it doesn't really happen. So I already have ink everywhere, but rubber gloves are priceless. Okay, so now that I got the ink on here, what I do is kind of spread it out a little bit. Anyway, you want to flood the screen, so you want a nice even coat of ink over the screen. Not too thick, not too thin. And then let's just go ahead and do our first pass and look at it. But I know with this ink I have to do a pretty firm pass. So press down pretty hard. You don't want the ink pushing over the top. So pull it back up, flood it again. I know I need to do at least 2 on this screen, so let's just do 2. And then we'll get an idea of how well lined it is. Since I'm using a jig for the paper, they shift slightly, so they're always kind of slightly moving. But anyway, put this up here, take a peek at it. Okay, so there's certain numbers and stuff like that that need to be shown on the cards I can't miss. And I can tell that one is not showing all the way. And typically, or at least when I've been doing this, if I just keep doing passes, eventually I'll get enough ink through there to... So, pull it back up, flood it again. Now let's take a peek at it and see. So there's one last number down here. It's not really coming through. So I'm just going to give it another firm pass, make sure it's nice and firm where I need that number. And let's see where we're at here. Okay, so the number came through good. Everything's looking good. Okay, so, you know, it looks like it might take me 3 or 4 passes per sheet. I got to do 100 today. So it's kind of a time-intensive process here, but we can get an idea looking at the sheet here. I don't know if you can see it on the camera, but that's the pass. Print for the day, so we got 2 here. And I used to hang them all individually, but I realized you can just lay them out in the sun too. It works great. So we'll put these guys over here. All right, so let's start printing. Put it up in the corner. That's nice. This has been a fun journey of getting off the computer, doing something that's enjoyable, and then, like I said, sharing information that's been important to me over the years, spiritual teachings, real practical spiritual teachings about emotions. And, well, let's see here, something was way off there. So this is a bad one. You get about 3 bad ones every time you print. So I have to check the tackiness. Well, so if the paper moves, that means sometimes it's not tacky enough. So I thought it might have been tacky enough from yesterday, but I can show you how we do the tacky, put the tacky stuff on here. First I'm going to pull the ink up to the left side, so when I lift it up it doesn't collect on there too much. And you don't want too much, but you just basically put a couple drops of this stuff. That's probably too much. And then you rub it until it gets sticky. And as it dries, it'll get stickier, so I don't want to rub it too much. It just barely starts to get tacky. This is one of my favorite sheets. It's got some of the more interesting cards on it. The beginning of the deck was researching a lot of Edgar Cayce material and Kevin Ryerson material, who were psychics and trance channels. And I know these days people aren't really open to that stuff because there's a lot of weird stuff out there, but growing up around it and seeing the difference between a psychic that that was more suspect and a psychic or a trance channel that was really doing work for the benefit of humanity, it's kind of easy to see. It's typically if they're charging or not charging, and if they are, how much. And you know, instead of getting hung up on what's real and what's not real, you listen to the information. If the information's helpful and seems practical, then there's use to it. It's not really about what's happening, is how helpful is it, you know. And truth has a wonderful way of being self-evident. But I was saying, when you hear something like in the psychic material, like the root of fear is concern, and you think about that and you say, okay, the root of fear is concern. I'm concerned about something. And that makes sense. I'm down for that. That helps me understand fear better, instead of feeling like destructive or negative emotions, so-called destructive emotions and negative emotions are a bad thing. You start to see it as a tool. I think emotions were described as signs, right? They're just kind of pointing you in a direction. They don't have any power in themselves. Emotions being signs, like signposts, but they don't have any power in themselves, right? Like, we don't have to fear. We don't have to be scared of or concerned about these emotions. They're just informing us of our emotional truths. So fear is concern, a sense of concern for a situation. So what we do is we look at our concern and say, what am I concerned about? That's the first thing you do. I'm concerned about something. What am I concerned about? You identify and you say, oh, well, that's what I'm concerned about. So, and then the next question is, well, what can I do about it? You know, is this a genuine concern? Is it me being selfish? Because if it is, it's something I can let go. But if it's a genuine concern, you got to do something about it. Then that's when you plan your action. And then you look at emotions like anger. You go back into this wisdom, and it talks about how anger is a sense of violation. You're being notified that you feel violated. So it's just to make you aware of a feeling of violation. And once again, then you ask yourself, why do I feel violated? What do I feel violated for? And then that feeling of what we call anger that comes up, that heated feeling that we get, is really courage being provided to us to take action on the sense of violation, right? If you feel violated, often we have to find courage to interact with the situation. So that's that feeling that comes up. It's actually a helpful tool in us finding the courage to act on the sense of violation, right? So, you know, it's stuff like that when I look at this ancient wisdom, these resources, I don't really care if it's true or not that somebody's psychic or channeling a spirit that's bringing this information. I'm just looking for tools that are helpful and practical. And then all the stuff that's kind of, you know, what I call strung out on rainbows or just high thinking, getting high off ideas, I try to avoid those because they're not initially practical or immediately practical for my life, you know. And I think it's good to have a balance between spirituality and making sure you can do your laundry and your dishes, right? There you go. Yeah, looking nice. So if you do ever choose to want to get one of these decks, it's 40 cards, and each card has a message about emotions on it, right? So, like this one here in the top left corner, the guy with the microphone, it's like finding your voice, right? Your emotional voice. And then in the booklet, an online PDF that you can download, it gets really, really in depth with different narratives. And it's been a dream come true to me to share these stories, because just like I just shared about fear and concern and anger and that directing you to a sense of violation, all of a sudden we have helpful tools that help us navigate our emotions a little bit better. And in today's world, where everyone's kind of freaking out a lot, we've lost awareness of these things. So it's just my little contribution to the world in a way that is hopefully helpful. I always dreamed about doing something that was helpful or meaningful. I like it because some of the passes are a little rough, right? As long as you can read the numbers and all that stuff. I love that, the look of a handmade print. Thanks for joining me today while I print in chat, create in chat. Check out atenray.com. It's ATENRAY. It means sun ray. I'm going to keep printing. I hope you have a good day. Don't freak out. Don't let all the emotions of life overwhelm you. If you want more information on the roots of these emotions, like I was talking about, on atenray.com, I have the Initiate's Guidebook and the regular guidebook for this Mindset Set Shift deck for free download. So whether you have purchased the deck or not, you can still access all the descriptions and all the explanations of the emotions and read about them. I think that's the most important part. So feel free to go there and download that. It's under like guides or books or whatever at the top. And then if you get the deck, there's like a QR code you can scan to check it out. But so yeah, if you're interested in that stuff, just go to the website, check it out. Some PDFs I made on there. Perfect one. All right, well, let's end on that note. Got a perfect print. You guys have a beautiful day and take care of yourselves. All right, bye.